We're down part of our Floribama show last Friday, Andy, and outside dining at dinner, but it was still feels like 102 degrees, and I ordered gumbo as an appetizer. Is that a foul or not?
All right, Andy Staples On3 is where you get his content now at Andy_Staples. Download all of his podcasts. Same place you get all of our podcasts. For the record, I am a gumbo lover. It was just when Dunaway ordered it, Andy, I'm like, my God, it's 1,000 degrees.
All right. So, before we get into the answer to this food question, I did want to point out I heard an ad for Slice while I was waiting to come on. And I got to tell everybody, go get the hot mama.
Yes, sir.
At Slice. The Calabrian peppers, sopressata, Mike's hot honey. It is spectacular.
Yep.
The last time I was in Birmingham, that is the pizza I had, and I was blown away. So, to answer this question, I say this as someone who lives in a place where it's 1,000 degrees most of the time. If you start making rules about when you can eat soups and stews, you will never eat soups and stews. Like, if it has to be below 50 degrees, what's the point? Like, this is a Louisiana dish. It's made in a climate that is swampy and hot. They eat it whenever they want to. Why would you ever limit yourself in terms of gumbo?
Yep. Andy's correct. I owned the fact that I was wrong about this.
Oh,
yes.
I caught so much grief, but it was so good, Andy.
Yes.
It was worth the sweat. It was worth the sweat.
All right. I know you haven't listened to the first hour of the show, but I bet you can guess what the reaction has been to USC's defense. Have we overreacted to what happened to them Saturday night against San Jose State?
I don't think it's an overreaction. I think it just looked like more of the same. Now, I understand what they're trying to do. They were playing a bunch of different guys and a bunch of different combinations. And so you're going to get coverage busts like that one before the end of the first half. But I also think it's still fundamentally the same thing where Alex Grinch loves smaller defensive linemen. Their largest rotation interior defensive guy is 300 pounds. Their three techniques are like 275. You know, if you look at Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, teams like that, they're playing 300-pound guys at three technique. They're playing 315-pound guys at nose. Like, it's just a different philosophy. And I don't know. I might go with the philosophy that has been proven to work instead of the one that doesn't. But that's what they're going to do.
Have we maybe overstated Notre Dame a little bit? They win by 39. Look, Sam Hartman seems to be an elite quarterback. Only one penalty, no turnovers, but it was Navy, and I don't know what to expect. Kevin Newberry, first-year guy at Navy, new system. But are we maybe overstating this?
I'm not overstating anything. It's Navy. Why don't we just wait until they play somebody? And, oh, by the way, they do. Next week they play NC State. So Sam Hartman's played NC State 3 times. He's lost to him twice. He's thrown 6 interceptions the last 2 meetings against them. If somehow Notre Dame causes him to play so much better against NC State's defense, and Tony Gibson, their defensive coordinator, he loves to either bring a bunch or drop a bunch, and he'll have delayed blitzes and all kinds of exotic stuff. If Notre Dame's offensive line is blocking that and Sam Hartman has time to stand back and pick them apart, I think you should worry about Notre Dame. I think you should be talking about Notre Dame as a playoff contender at that point, because that's a good defense and they've got athletes. And if Notre Dame's front handles them, that is a great sign for Notre Dame. And I think that's the thing with Sam Hartman and Notre Dame that we're trying to figure out. And we won't know until they've played some better competition. But is he the quarterback they've needed to unlock a downfield passing game that they haven't had? And then is that offensive line the thing he needed to give him the time to do all of the stuff that he's capable of that we maybe didn't get to see in the Wake Forest offense? Because while they have older offensive linemen, they don't necessarily have a bunch of NFL offensive linemen. Notre Dame does. And so we'll find out. And I think we'll find out pretty quick.
We're not close enough friends for you to know one of my personality flaws is I always go out of my way to look for things to be mad about. So I was ready to be mad about the new clock rule. And even in the broadcast, as they were telling me it was going to cost me 5 or 8 plays in the game, I was steaming mad. 5 and 8 plays. And when the day was over with, I didn't really notice it. I didn't notice it. What was your take on that?
Well, the thing is, I don't think people will notice it because we are accustomed to watching football where the clock runs on first down. We all watch the NFL. It's the most popular sport in America. So everybody's used to seeing that. And remember, it still stops on first down in the last 2 minutes of the half. So you still get that same end of game situation that you always had. And really, you weren't noticing the clock stopping on first down when it wasn't an end of game situation. So this is one where I don't think you're going to see much. I was talking to Yogi Roth, who called the USC San Jose State game. He said they were on pace for a 3-hour game. They just had a couple of gnarly long reviews there toward the end, or it would have been. Notre Dame, Navy went quickly, but I don't think it would have mattered what clock rules you used with those two teams. They were going to run the ball a ton anyway. So I don't think people are going to get too bent out of shape about this one. I think it's going to probably look a lot like what everybody watches on Sundays. And because everybody's used to watching that on Sundays, it's not going to feel as foreign as like in 2006 when they did those weird ones where the clock, remember they would kick off, and if you return the kick, the clock would just run. And
Yes.
it was wild because you'd see, if a team was down, they're running the team onto the field to snap the ball as quickly as possible. And if the team was up, everybody's just sort of walking onto the field very slowly. And we're going to snap this with 1 second left on the play clock. That was dumb. This makes more sense because our minds have already processed this.
Yeah, college football is they've had some dumb rules. I mean, when I was a kid, Andy, if you were on the road and the crowd was too loud, the quarterback could step out. You could draw a penalty. The home crowd could draw a penalty. Yeah,
it's amazing. But the one I want, if you make me commissioner, the one I'm changing, when quarterback throws a pass to a wide open receiver, overthrows, and the receiver has to lay out, catches the ball, but he catches it and he's down. Like in the NFL, you can get up and run with that.
Yes.
Let people run with that ball.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's not going to hurt anything.
Don't punish the offense because the defense is nowhere around to touch you, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go.
Exactly.
I didn't mean to go Pentecostal church here, but I was giving you an amen as you were preaching there. 100%. Yes.
Andy Staples on 3 Sports at Andy_Staples is where you find all of his work on Twitter now, but you find everything there at On3 Sports as well. And don't forget, every single night, 7 o'clock Central, every single night on the On3 YouTube channel, 7 o'clock Central time is where you see Andy's show. So everywhere you see us, you see Andy as well. Go support his work. I want to ask you about Thursday night. Your gut tells you Cam Rising starts, Cam Rising plays. We do not see him. What's your gut tell you?
That we don't see him, and that Florida pulls one out.
Wow.
Ooh.
Massive for Billy Napier.
Which would be huge for them.
Yep.
They need that win badly. They need to be able to beat either Utah or Tennessee to kind of get themselves on track. And now I said this last year. I said they're going to win one of Utah and Kentucky, and they did. And the thing is, I think if they'd played Utah in the 3rd or 4th game of the season last year, they would have lost that game. A lot of that was Utah didn't have any Anthony Richardson film. They didn't know what the offense was going to look like. This is a little bit different. Utah is still kind of, they'll have the film of Billy Napier's offense, but it's going to look different with Graham Mertz running it. And then we'll see what happens with Utah, because Cam Rising is one of those guys that I'm not saying this as an insult. He's a reckless player. Like, he has no regard for his own safety when he plays. And it's the thing that makes his teammates love him. It's the thing that makes him so good. But I would be worried if I didn't feel like he was close to 100%. I don't know if I want to put him in a non-conference game when I have a legitimate chance of winning a 3rd consecutive Pac-12 title, if I can, give him more time to get ready and try to keep him healthy all season.
Obviously, Graham Mertz doesn't have the physical skill set that Anthony Richardson had, but Andy, do you believe this offense will be more consistent under Graham Mertz?
I don't know about that. I believe the defense will be better this year. I think that would be the difference for Florida. It's, you go back to the Tennessee game, they actually gained a bunch of yards. They scored points, but they gave up a ton. Vandy, same thing. They could be better on the defensive side of the ball, a little bit worse on offense, and still wind up with the same or even a little bit better record.
2 things that bother me about college athletics is the NCAA and the NCAA, just 2 different directions here. One of them, Arizona State self-imposing this 1-year bowl ban. It seemed to catch the players in Kenny Dillingham off guard. It should have happened last year while Herm was still there and those players were still there. And then this Maason Smith suspension. I mean, it's like he's being penalized for prohibition laws when alcohol is legal again. Both of these make my head blow up as we get ready to go to the first full week. What do you think of both of those situations?
It's just silly. The Maason Smith one is pathetic, to be honest. I mean, these guys are so bad at enforcing rules and enforcing them fairly. And look, I get it. You've spent 100 years trying to keep athletes from getting paid. You don't really know any better than that, but you changed the rules. You'd already agreed to change the rules when he did this autograph signing, a month before NIL went into effect. And then, oh, by the way, you said he still has to miss a game because the decision hadn't been rendered when he got hurt last season. Like, wasn't his knee exploding in the first game punishment enough?
Really?
Yes.
He missed 12 games because his knee exploded. Like, it doesn't have to happen. You don't have to be like the last prohibition agent who's like, I found a guy with a bottle of hooch 5 seconds before the law changed. Like, that's pathetic. And then the Arizona State thing is just they're bad at this stuff. Like, what they should have done is done this last year. They should have self-imposed a bowl ban last year because they've known about this investigation for 2 years. They knew they were going to lose it. They knew they were going to have to fire Edwards when they did. So they should have just self-imposed before last season. They knew they weren't going to be any good. They were 3-9. They knew they were going to fire Herm. And then that way, everybody would have transferred, and it would have left the roster kind of wide open for when Kenny Dillingham got there. There wouldn't have been any of those awkward conversations of, son, I think you probably need to transfer somewhere. Or, we probably don't have room for you on the roster. Like, the roster would have been clear. He could have just come in and filled it however he wanted.
Great usage of the phrase bottle of hooch by Andy Staples. All right, listen, go follow him on Twitter at Andy_Staples. You can get his work at On3 Sports now, 7 o'clock Central every night, YouTube. It's where you watch Andy's show. You get it wherever you get your podcasts. Everything you do with us, that's the way you follow Andy as well. Andy, thank you very much for the time. Enjoy week 1.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Take care. Andy with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.